which is one of the reasons why I love this. Making things with your hands is a really good thing. However, phones are good for something, and that is Pinterest. I love Pinterest. So I got a textile art feed on Pinterest, and that's how I got to know about Harriet's work, which I saw in teeny tiny on the Pinterest board, and I thought, oh, that looks super interesting, because she done something I hadn't seen before, which is drawing the threads off the canvas and spooling them onto a spool beside the canvas, and I thought that's very, very clever. So I looked a little deeper, and I've seen the stop motion stuff and all of the incredible work that Harriet does. So I thought I'd invite her here to talk to you today. Harriet.
Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit this evening about my work and experiences, but also a bit about the rising popularity of making, which is something that I find really interesting and encouraging. So I am a textile artist and print designer. I do a bit of illustration as well. I studied service pattern design at Swansea College of Art and graduated in 2014. And I decided fairly quickly that I wanted to work for myself after a bit of an unfortunate insight into what industry might be like, where I was asked to design a wallpaper for Heat for a company, and I worked on it for a solid week, to be told, actually the customers had a change of parts, so don't worry about carrying on. And so that was a bit of a blow straight out of uni, and I thought, I learned from it, one, to take a deposit, but more importantly, I decided that actually I didn't want to spend hours of my time pouring something into something that wasn't weren't my ideas, and I didn't really feel that I could probably call my own. So I decided to start trying to work for myself, but of course, setting up a business isn't straightforward, and there were lots of challenges. So I waitressed alongside that for about a year, and eventually managed to do more and more creative things, and things took off, and I was lucky enough to go full-time in 2015. Since then, I have put on solo exhibitions, taken part in some of London's largest design fairs, illustrated colouring books for HarperCollins, and designed a huge 40 square metre vinyl for Sheffield Museum. It's a really fun project. So I started working with freehand machine embroidery. Oh, by the way, this is my work and this bit here, just so you know. I started working with freehand machine embroidery in my first year of college, and that was when I came across Rose's work at the Knit and Stitch Show, and really loved that. And I remember seeing that and just getting very excited about the possibilities within embroidery, all the different things you could do with it, and worked with it ever since. Really like combining it with print as well. I quite like, gives me the opportunity to really build quite dense illustration with different textures and opacities, and within that gives me the chance to tell a story. So I've got pieces there that are just black linear thread or calico, and you're welcome throughout the evening if you want to handle that embroidery and see how the different textures are created with different stitch techniques. Sometimes I use zigzag stitch to build up sort of areas of density and create contrast within the image. And then there's my work that uses print and stitch together. And those are usually from a collection that I've been working on, which will be made up of lots of different illustrations for the place, and then animals that I think sort of connect to that place. So for example, this pink and green one here is from a collection called Glastonbury Meadows. And I was working on that at a time where I was working from a little hut at the bottom of my dad's garden, and cows would wander into that garden, and the Highland cattle were just on the top of the field there, and the hedgerows at the time were that vivid pink and green, so it all just fed into that. And that's the way that I really like to build a collection, with lots of first-hand research and just a layering of images. And then you can kind of see with the Chelsea one there, that's Chelsea Pictures. That was a whole day going around Chelsea, asking people if I could photograph their dogs, meeting those dogs. So that was very enjoyable, and I justify my research trips like that. You've got to go to this place because So that's good. And then I use the elements from within that and kind of bring them as an individual element and make it as a standalone illustration for my smaller pieces. But embroidery is obviously a very important part of my work, and I find people's reaction to embroidery really interesting. The first question is often, how long did that take? And although free machine embroidery is a much quicker and fluid way of working, doesn't require quite the incredible patience of got to give that to you. But people still question the time element with it. They're still very interested in that because it must connect it to that hand embroidery. And I think that's one of the reasons why sort of rising in popularity. I think the appreciation for it is really growing. People are very, they find it an appealing medium. And I also think in a time, as I said, where we are very much on our screens and screen culture is a large part of our day, I think there's something very appealing about tactile illustration and really seeing that has been crafted. So and I also wanted to talk a little bit about making in general. I think more and more people are getting involved in some type of making, whether it's doing workshops, setting up their businesses at home, just taking up a hobby, or I was even thinking about the colouring book craze. Even that I think is an extension of that, because you're seeing something grow, you're putting your hands to something and seeing something progress, and it's satisfying and it's great for looking at a screen. And I think a lot of people are yearning for that, and it's really great to see the popularity of making rising. But I did want to talk screens as well, and say that I don't think technology and traditional making should stand in opposition to each other at all, because technology can be an incredible tool for makers today. It can be a very real way of surviving, and online platforms like Instagram and Etsy, they help us not only sell our work, reach potential buyers, but also connect with each other, to organise events like this. So Pinterest is having UK came across me and how I'm happily here, and so that's all really lovely things. And so I just think it's absolutely lovely to see how many people are getting interested in textile art, and how that making is growing generally, and it's lovely to be here celebrating that. So thank you.
Thanks, Harriet. This incredible work of Oxford, which Harriet has literally created in the last week. I don't know quite how, so come and have a look.
You're very welcome to handle it.
Can I ask, are they screen printed or are they?
I was going to ask one there is screen printed.
Yeah, and these are digital.
Those are digital. But which one's screen printed? That one there is screen printed. And I really want to get back and do some more screen printing. It's a technique that I absolutely love and really miss. And again, I just love the hands-onness of that. It's so messy, and I'm not a very neat screen printer, so I always have a lot of happy accidents that I have to stitch into a little bit more to cover that.
That's the joy of it.
Yeah.
What's the story of the chickens and the pheasants and the
that one? I can't really claim that there's much of a connection there. All I can say is my graduate collection this was part of, and it was called British Blues. Everything was blue. But that year I just spent so much time on trains between sort of London, Somerset and Swansea, and everything got a little bit merged together into collections there, and so it wasn't such a clear. But these are the Buff Orpington chickens that we have at home, with a bit of South Kensington. So
representation of your brain.
Yeah.
Great, thank you, Harriet. Anybody else got any questions for Harriet? Okay, a couple of minutes, get another drink. We'll have our next